Hey. Oh boy, this uh, lovable sea sponge from the mind of Stephen Hillenberg well still continues to charm us today. And hey guys, Harry Thomas here, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my top five best and worst SpongeBob episodes, where I will be sharing my five favorite and least favorite episodes of the SpongeBob universe in this video. And I mean, I think we can all agree that, SpongeBob has 50% good episodes and 50% just average to bad ones. Uh, but that doesn't stop me from still loving the franchise with all my heart. So without further ado, if you want to know my five favorite and least favorite episodes of SpongeBob to mark the franchise's 25th anniversary, then just keep watching. At number five, the Splinter. Oh, does this episode deserve the hate it gets? Yes, with a capital H. The Splinter sucks. When my mama saw this one, she was especially disgusted and repulsed by it. And who wouldn't be? Like, this is a SpongeBob torture porn. It's like it's making that Splinter look like the most excruciating thing on earth. Squidward is especially unlikable, lying that SpongeBob will have to go home early if Mr. Krabs finds out about his injury. But Dr. Patrick makes things even worse. This is the second time he's impersonated a doctor after Suds, and he's still shit at it. And he causes a SpongeBob Splinter to get pussy and inflamed, and when SpongeBob reveals the Splinter to Mr. Krabs, I sprinted to the bathroom to throw her the fuck up. It was disgusting. And but at least Squidward got his comeuppance. So when he bashed himself with the cash register to get the compensation, but he doesn't get any because his shift ended 2 minutes ago. At number four, the main drain. Oh, talk about a draining episode to get through, and talk about putting the show down the drain in the worst way possible. Here's why the main drain is not only a snooze fest and sucks to high hell, but it's literally one of the most nonsensical episodes I have ever seen. Not that SpongeBob was a show that was supposed to be based around logic, but this just pushes it way too far into bullshit. Like, Mr. Krabs tells them a legend about why they shouldn't mess with the drain in the Krusty Krab because of the main drain. And once upon a time, two kids pulled the plug from the drain and causing the entire ocean to be sucked down the drain. But why is everybody still here if that happened? How did that story actually exist? Nothing happens while SpongeBob and Patrick search for the drain. When they finally do find the drain, it turns out Mr. Krabs and Plankton in a twist revelation were the two kids that pulled the drain plug. But I'm like, does that matter? It still doesn't look like that happened to me. And then Patrick pulls the drain, and him and Bikini Bottom and the ocean get sucked into it. So only guess what? It was all SpongeBob telling Patrick a bedtime story all this time. Are you fucking kidding me, writers? So that is such a forced twist ending, and you just made the entire episode redundant. You're telling us it was all just SpongeBob telling Patrick a story and was never happening. Wow, thanks for wasting 10 minutes of our time. At number three, a pal for Gary. Yep, I, like many, hate this fucking episode. It is the biggest Gary torture porn I've ever seen. I mean, And the Gary torture porns are just as bad as the Squidward torture porns are like. And this episode makes you, want to punch a SpongeBob freaking badly because of how beyond stupid and blind and oblivious he is throughout. Like he gets a new pet, a best friend for Gary because he fears Gary is a loner when he's working at the Krusty Krab. Even though Gary is perfectly happy in his own company, had this episode been, SpongeBob getting a girlfriend for Gary, like a female snail, that would have been different. That would have been so much better and sweeter. But no, the old lady who sells the beast that SpongeBob buys, who he names Puffy Fluffy, he doesn't pay any attention to her, just doesn't pay her, and just steals Puffy Fluffy. And Puffy Fluffy causes a bunch of chaos in SpongeBob's home, which SpongeBob blindly thinks is Gary's fault, even though Gary is the one that saved SpongeBob's life from being swallowed whole by the beast. SpongeBob, the prick, doesn't even thank Gary for saving his hide. He still thinks Gary was in the wrong. Ah, SpongeBob, there is no hope for you in this episode. You are the one that deserved the punishment, not Gary. At number 2, the most annoying SpongeBob episode, period, Slide Whistles Stooges. This is my sister's least favourite episode of all time, and who can blame her? From the moment she saw it, she's had an unadulterated loathing for this one, and I have a huge loathing for it too. Like, this episode will make you want to just slice your ear off to prevent the agony of the slide whistle, a sound effect, from stabbing your eardrums. Like, I felt as irritated as Squidward having to listen to SpongeBob and Patrick torture him psychologically with their fucking slide whistles. Like, you just want to take their slide whistles and shove them up their freaking asses, and then Squidward does a complete 180 for no reason and starts indulging in the slide whistles to the point where the town gets pissed at him and forms an angry mob. And when Squidward goes over a cliff in a gasoline truck and it explodes, the town heartlessly cheer like they're happy that he's died or something. And then SpongeBob and Patrick torture Squidward even further when he's bandaged and in hospital, and they play the slide whistles when doctors are carefully trying to carry out surgery and procedures on patients. I mean, wow, they actually made fun of the sick and dying. I put this one this high because I don't think this episode is hated enough. I think it's worse than everybody says. It would have been my number one worst if not for the most infamous one and the most famous bad one. You all know what it is. And the number one worst SpongeBob episode is, I think you all saw this coming. One course meal. Fuck this episode with a raging passion. This is the most notorious alpha and omega of all bad SpongeBob. It's literally the funeral of SpongeBob. I mean, it's indescribably awful and torturous. Like, I mean, the fact that it's a episode about Mr. Krabs driving Plankton to suicide and not regretting it, that alone should tell anyone with a brain to avoid this episode like the plague and don't let their kids come anywhere near it. Like, that is such an evil, fucked up premise for SpongeBob. Plankton's suicide attempt where he's like, go away, cheesehead, can't you see I'm trying to get run over? What the fuck? Why would you put a suicide joke in SpongeBob? I'm sorry, but the screenwriters of this nightmare, I don't know I don't want to know what was going through their fucking minds when they wrote this. And the fact that they think Plankton would ever be terrified of Pearl is uh, a bunch of bullshit. Because Plankton has interacted with Pearl before, particularly when he switched places with Mr. Krabs, and he was never once terrified of her because whales eat krill, not plankton. You dumb excuses for writers. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think this was the episode that made die-hard SpongeBob fans go, okay, the new SpongeBob, the post-movie SpongeBob era is not the same as the Steven Hillenburg pre-movie SpongeBob era. This was the one that had fans begging for Hillenberger to return. But now, on a more positive note, moving on to the top 5 best that Bikini Bottom has to offer. At number 5, Mimic Madness, the grand return of Steven Hillenberg, Bikini Bottomites. Thank you, Hillenberger. I mean, it's so tragic that a year after this episode, he would tragically pass away in November 2018. But he did temporarily revive the show to its former greatness, and no, and the best of the return of Hillenberg era was Mimic Madness. The mysterious Mr. Enter even called this his favourite SpongeBob episode of all time. And it's not very hard to see why. This showcases Tom Kenny's range of talents as an impressionist and as a voice actor, why he is one of the gifted voice actors working today and one of the most versatile. We see SpongeBob go for an identity crisis to the point where he exiles himself to a cave where he's constantly morphing his head into other characters with Tom Kenny voicing each of them as so perfectly. But it's Sandy who saves the day. She gives the idea for them to paint themselves like SpongeBob and behave like him, so that he mimics their behavior and goes back to himself. This episode has some real emotional weight to it, especially the best scene in the episode, Who Am I? That song is one of the most tear-jerky SpongeBob songs since Without You from Welcome to the Chum Bucket. I am not kidding. At number 4, Scaredy Pants. I mean, Halloween wouldn't be Halloween without this special. I mean, happy 25th anniversary, Scaredy Pants. This is not only my favourite episode of season 1, the very first season, but it marked the debut of the Flying Dutchman, it's and this has remained the best Halloween and creepy themed SpongeBob episode since. It is that timeless, and you mean it's really you feel bad for SpongeBob, the fact that Bikini Bottom brings him down and scares him and are not intimidated by him. So you just want him to finally get his chance to make an impression on Halloween. Not to mention the comedy here is a peak SpongeBob comedy. It is that laugh out loud funny, especially Mr. Krabs choking on the apple and Pearl going, "Oh, Dad, you're embarrassing me again!" Patrick lowering SpongeBob down when he's pretending to be the Flying Dutchman, but then a jellyfish stings his ass. Oh, not to mention that ending with SpongeBob revealing that they got his head round like a real ghost was Patrick shaving his entire body to the point where you can see his brain. I mean, it's so hilarious and doesn't come across as too disturbing or inappropriate. See, writers, this is how you do a SpongeBob creepypasta, not the toenail scene from House Fancy or the Splinter or suicide jokes. At number 3, Christmas Who. I mean, Christmas Who was one of the very first SpongeBob episodes that I ever saw fat, and it was my and my sister's introduction to Patchy the Pirate. This is a Christmas special that we never miss at Christmas. This is one of our Christmas traditions, and rightly so. The patchy scenes in this episode are the funniest that the show has ever done. Like Polly eating all of Patchy's cookie dough to Patchy pulling down Polly's strings, and Polly's a puppet from the ceiling falls down. Oh, the good old days back when SpongeBob was actually funny for kids and adults, and then uh, the song "The Very First Christmas to Me" were one of my top 10 Christmas songs. And the second half of the episode does give him does go mature when Santa doesn't show up to Bikini Bottom. Well, it's because nobody told SpongeBob or Bikini Bottom you're supposed to stay asleep when Santa comes or he won't cut them. Squidward acts like a jackass to a SpongeBob at first, but then SpongeBob gives him his gift, which is a clarinet made of wood, to which Squidward is chuffed and feels so guilty. And does the kindest thing he's ever done for SpongeBob in the entire show. He dresses at Santa and gives away all his stuff to the Bikini Bottomites just to make SpongeBob's day. Such a heartwarming resolution that's makes you go, Squidward, I knew you weren't going to be a party pooper at Christmas. At number 2, this may shock a lot of you, but Whale of a Birthday. Yes, I know not every SpongeBob fan will rate Whale of a Birthday in their top 3, and some may dismiss it just because it's a post-movie SpongeBob episode. But I think this one is, well, a tad underappreciated and undervalued, as this one just pretty different from others, being nearly entirely focused on Pearl, and she's really the main character. We rarely see that, and you just feel so sorry for her. The fact that Mr. Krabs, being a cheap dad that he is, puts money in being cheap before her birthday parties, and he's ruined all of them. So this is her 16th birthday. He had better not fuck this one up. So yeah, the but so Mr. Krabs does continue to be cheap, of course, but luckily, good old SpongeBob saves the day and makes and saves Pearl's birthday by bringing in his delivery truck, which has a mountain of presents for Pearl, including her own boats and the cherry on top, the Boys Who Cry revelation, where they perform one of the catchiest songs in SpongeBob history. It's all about you, girl, on your 16th birthday. I always sing that song to my sister on her birthday, and yeah, that Boys Who Cry are literally the One Direction of Bikini Bottom. And Mr. Krabs even gets a fitting comeuppance when SpongeBob shows him the receipt and his bill for all that stuff. And Mr. Krabs is alarmed, to say the least. But this one not only makes me laugh and cry, but it has uh, but it has such a lovely message about making somebody's birthday special. It would be my number one if not for a one. That's but I don't know a single SpongeBob fan that wouldn't put this one at number one. And the number one and my number one favorite SpongeBob episode is drum roll please. Band Geeks. This is, of course, the greatest SpongeBob episode of all time. This is the highest higher for a SpongeBob, and it's literally the entire town and coming together to, well, finally give Squidward, who has been beaten down and tortured for the majority of the show, his one chance of happiness. And the, I mean, the jokes are simply the funniest in the show. From each of the band training scenes, is mayonnaise an instrument? Kicking, I want to do some kicking. It's like every single character get in Bikini Bottom gets a role, and I mean, how often do we see every single character in one episode? It's SpongeBob at the end of the day that convinces the town to stop fighting, and make the marching band that will be played at the Bubble Ball a work for Squidward's sake. And of course, the defying moment of SpongeBob itself, sweet victory. I mean, it's has me awed every single time I watch it. There is no SpongeBob song more explosively epic or more satisfying than it. And yeah, to hear SpongeBob sing like a rock star and to get Squidward finally get a happy ending to put Squilliam in his place. So yeah, I'm proud to call Band Geeks the best SpongeBob episode. So they were my top 5 best and worst SpongeBob episodes, and I love you guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this list. And what are your favorite and least favorite episodes? Please comment and let me know. Please like this video and subscribe. Please follow on Twitter and on Instagram. And I'll see you next time when I have some more Christmas and festive reviews to come. And remember, movies are us. Bye, guys.